Hello and welcome to the Do Not Disturb Football Podcast. I'm your host, Drew Pelter. In the red, that is Darian, and in the pinkish color, that is Nimmer. We've had a crazy day today in our league. We woke up. I saw DeAndre Hopkins was getting traded to the Chiefs. It was about 6 a.m. my time. I think it was even earlier for you guys on the West Coast. So I picked him up, immediately got some interest from other people in the league for a trade. Nimmer showed me the most interest. I immediately traded DeAndre Hopkins. So I owned I owned DeAndre Hopkins for a total of like 2 hours, I think. And now I have DK Metcalf on my team, and Nimmer has DeAndre Hopkins. What a shakeup this league had today.
Bro, you know what pisses me off is that I actually was going to. I had it. I don't know why I didn't read it, but I had D Hop on my waiver wire notes, and I was like, just keep an eye out on D Hop. Like I was gonna kind of put it out there and be like, keep an eye out. And yeah, I don't know what the hell this is.
Are we talking about the two lines on the
Yeah,
screen?
I have no idea what that is.
I was wondering what that was.
Yeah,
I don't think they say it on the YouTube feed.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah. So you talk about the full trade. Let's dive
Um,
into it. Not just it sounds like it's a 1v1.
Oh yeah,
Let's
no.
dive into it.
So there we go, much better. So that's what. Then I was like, all right, I couldn't go to sleep last night, so it was like 11:45, and then I was like, you know what? Let me stay up. I'll pull a Darian. I'll stay up till waiver wires and whatnot. Ends up being that it's like 2:30 in my time, and I was like, all right, no. So I was like 12 o'clock, and then I kept on closing the application, opening it up, closing it, opening up, going crazy. And then I googled it, and it was like 2:15, 2:30 my time. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to sleep after this. Wake up, and then I get an ESPN alert saying that D Hop just got traded, and I was like, oh my god, didn't know who to drop. So then I ended up hitting Drew. The trade was DK, Jalen Warren, and White. Rashad White for D Hop and Mooney. D Hop, Mooney. I thought there was somebody else.
James Conner. That was the big one.
Yeah, that was what really sold me. So I thought it was a pretty good trade. I needed a running back too, and I had to give up DK, which was upsetting, but I thought it was a nice trade.
Yeah, it was pretty level. You both took kind of a ding. I mean, losing DK Metcalf is pretty rough, but also with Drew, him having the running backs that he did to give up James Conner, I thought was the massive draw. So I think when it comes to it, with DK being hurt, probably gonna only be like a week, maybe two. I think Drew lost the trade in a sense, but that goes to say, I think DK is gonna have a monster rest of the season. So I think we'll see you pick it up when he returns.
I think the sneakiest ad that Drew did was Rashad White, because since the Buccaneers have no offensive weapons besides the running backs, I think that Rashad White, as we saw last week, that Rashad White's going to be probably the primary receiving target in that offense. So I think that was the sneakiest ad. Plus Jalen Warren has a huge floor with Russell. So I think it was pretty even, personally. But
yeah, I mean, my thinking going into it was, well, first of all, Nimmer came to me first with DK, Sutton, and Warren. Mm-hmm. That was the first offer.
Because you're a Bronco fan, so I was like, oh, maybe I could kind of leverage.
But I looked at Sutton and I was like, absolutely, I do not want him. So the man put up 0 points last week. What would I do? What would I be doing to trade for him? So I said, you know what? I know Nimmer wants to get off Rashad White. He said it on this podcast. I'm going to add Rashad White, take Sutton off, and let's see if I can throw in Mooney and sway him that way. Really, DK was who I wanted. With who I've got at receiver right now, I've got Justin Jefferson and Cooper Kupp. Cooper Kupp, loved him the first game, haven't seen him since. So
Mhm.
it's been a tough time. And I thought in the playoffs, if I have 2 solid running backs, 2 solid receivers, and I can kind of mix in Rashad White, Jalen Warren, Tracy Jr., I'll probably be better off than having Cup, who's, liable to get hurt again. And then I'm really going to get blown out in the playoffs. That's what I didn't want to happen if I make it to the playoffs.
Yeah. No, I mean your team. You have Cook, Bijan, Jefferson, Cup. Yeah, and then DK on the bench. That's a strong start.
Pretty solid team.
5 with Jordan Love as quarterback. Yeah, that's a solid team. So
Yeah.
it doesn't really
So-
matter because I'm gonna lose to Darian this week. He's projected like 300 points, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah.
You never know, man. You never know.
I will let the YouTube viewers into our view really quick. I can't really see Nimmer. I see like a very like blurry.
Oh, is it
Or-
like jagged for you too?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I can see
Whoa.
Darian pretty well, but I can't really see Nimmer. I'm just kind of listening to him.
Oh, that's weird.
But
You can see my screen.
you sound
Yeah.
great.
You say yeah, all of you guys sound great. You guys are all moving like robots.
Yeah.
It's,
My bad. Let me try to.
Ooh.
Entire screen.
Now I'm blind.
All right. That should be a little bit better. On YouTube, it looks good. So.
Yeah, on YouTube it looks fine. So I think we're okay. But let's get into. Oh, I guess I didn't ask how you guys are doing. Darren, how are you doing after seeing all that craziness this morning in our league?
and now it got my juices flowing. I was ready to freaking send a haul to Quaz. I was like, okay, we're making splashes today. All right, I got one too. And I was gonna offer Quaz, Brian Robinson, David Njoku, and then Jawan Jennings just for Gibbs. And I was like, I'm all in. So that was my trade that I was hoping to make happen. But Quaz was like, that trade's not going to turn my team for the better. I was
Why
like,
wouldn't you?
well,
Why wouldn't you send Montgomery instead of B-Rub?
I wanted to change my name to Sonic and Knuckles.
Okay, I like that.
That was the thought behind it. But uh, I thought about also sending Monty, but I was like, I want both. I'm gonna be that greedy bastard. But no. Overall, like I've kind of got talked off the ledge by Drew and Hook, saying, "Why would you do it? Just hold." And I was like, "Yeah, you're right. I don't need it." But no, it was a good day. It was a lot of fun watching the trades kind of unfold and seeing what's going on behind the curtains, still going on. From what I hear, I feel like I'm not Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter. Like I hear the little birds are tweeting trades are coming.
Yeah, I mean, Darren, your team, I think if we did the average, it's probably in the 140 range. You have been putting up points. I know you want to add Gibbs, but if you're giving up some pretty big players for one player in return, and you already have the other running back in that backfield on your team, I don't think that makes a lot of sense.
More. Just nah, yeah. I mean, my thought process was Njoku. I've been holding on to, even then, like when he was hurt, I was like, perfect. He's going to come back and then have one monstrous game. And now he's projected 13.2 points. I was like, I'm gonna sell him high because he has, I would say, tight end like one upside when he doesn't have Watson at QB. But and I also have McBride. So I was like, I'm not really losing a ton. I'll just pick up a random tight end after that.
Yeah. Well, Nimmer, how are you feeling today?
I'm doing good. It's the first trade that the trade committee actually pushed through, so I really can't complain about this about today. One thing we forgot to mention yesterday, I think this week is the only week, I shouldn't say the only week, but like this is the only time where all 4 major sports in the United States are playing at one time. We got hockey, we got baseball, we got basketball, we got football. So that's kind of cool for sports fans in general. If you're not just a football fan, if you like, all 4 sports, this is a really good time just to watch pretty much any sport you really want because this is they're all playing right now. So
Yeah. I was looking at some of the games for the NBA might have been 2 nights ago or last night. I can't remember. But the Laker game started at PM here, and I was like, absolutely no way I'm watching that. Like, I would love to see Bronny and LeBron played it, but I'm like not staying up till 10 and watching that game go until 1 a.m. in the morning. Like, that's ridiculous.
we'll just
Yeah.
watch the clips type of thing.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
I
it
did
was
watch
really
the
good.
clips. Bronny got blocked. I did see that.
Of course he did.
I saw that they were switching on to Bronny a lot to make him defend, and that wasn't working.
Uh,
So they're like, I feel like they're kind of like the Jets,
The Lakers.
kind of similar.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I can see that.
they got one guy that's in the building that's calling all the shots. Hey, get me JJ Redick. Hey, get me my son.
Mm-hmm.
Get me AD. And they do all these things, and then they're just kind of an average team.
That's
end
every
of the year.
team that LeBron goes on. I feel like LeBron always has some type of say in the organization. So it's going to be interesting when he brings a team to Las Vegas and sees how he actually can, manage a team and own a team and stuff like that. So
Yeah, I know. Mark Cuban has said that and we're not an NBA show. I didn't expect to get into this conversation, but I know Mark Cuban said that he thinks LeBron won't be able to do that very well.
really, I think the opposite. I think
Yeah.
that his whole career he's pretty much been managing his whole entire roster. Or I think that he'll do really well. I think Mike he was more of a competitor and that's what made him great. But I feel like LeBron's more strategical and like knows the game, watches high school basketball. Like I think he's more invested in basketball and I feel like he's smarter than MJ in basketball.
Mm.
But that's my opinion.
All the Jordan fans, let's hear it in the comments. I'm sure you'll
Yeah.
love that.
We can
Let's get
debate
into
that all day. I still think LeBron's better than MJ, but that's just me.
let's get into the injury report. We're not going to talk about the NBA all night, but it's fun for it to come around every once in a while, I guess.
In the off season, it's more of an off season
yeah.
thing.
Yeah. So some of the new injuries I saw today, probably the biggest one, Andy Dalton is out for the Panthers. QB Bryce Young's going to play, so that's another dub for the Broncos, if you ask me. Bills tight end. Bills tight end Dalton Kincaid, he's back on the injury report with a collarbone injury. He played through that last week. Packers wide receivers Christian Watson and Jaden Reed are on the injury report. They're both questionable. Colts wide receiver Michael Pittman and Josh Downs are questionable. Chiefs running back Kareem Hunt is questionable with a hip injury. Chargers Ladd McConkey is back on the injury report with that hip injury that he played through last week. Dolphins wide receiver Jalen Waddle is questionable with a quad injury. Saints tight end Juwan Johnson and Alvin Kamara, the running back, are dealing with injuries. Kamara played through a hand injury last week. He's back with that same injury. Jets quarterback Aaron Rodgers is questionable with a hamstring injury. The wide receiver Alan Lazard is questionable with a chest injury. And then the Niners running back Jordan Mason, he's questionable with an ankle injury. So he now has an ankle injury and a shoulder injury that he's dealing with.
Jeez.
Although there is some good news coming out of the Niners camp today. Christian McCaffrey is said to be, this was said by Coach Shanahan, he will be returning after the bye week in week 10.
Ooh.
They are pretty confident that's going to happen. So, Ricky, maybe that's when your team turns around. Beat my ass, though, the first game. So I guess I shouldn't be talking that much. It was
Isn't Puka
confirmed
supposed to be
today.
back? Oh, go ahead. I thought you were done.
They just designated him off the IR, so his 21-day practice window just opened up. I don't think he's going to play this week, but he could be back the following week.
Nice.
It was confirmed today. Godwin for the Buccaneers, he's out for the season with that ankle injury that he had. That's super unfortunate. He was having such a good season. I know that really hurts for the fantasy owners out there that had him on their team. Bucky Irving is dealing with a toe injury. He's questionable. I also read somewhere, and I'm not 100% sure if this is actually true or not, that Mason Rudolph is probably going to start this week against the Bills for the Titans. Will Levis is heading towards being out with a shoulder injury. And then Calvin Ridley is questionable with a foot injury.
I saw a clip that said they were trying to read Godwin's lips or whatever, and he was like, "Is that my career? You really think this is a career-ending injury?"
I saw that clip and I thought he said to the trainer, like, back to work, champ, or something like that.
That's what I think. Like, I think the trainer's name is John. It was like time to go back to work, John, like
Yeah.
type of thing. But
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Super sad injury.
Yeah,
He's
after such a big year.
Such a good player.
yeah,
So we are in our new era of this show where we come out and we just start talking about fantasy football right out the gates. We have a new segment for you today. This is called Fool's Gold or Diamonds. And this is probably a segment we should have done in the beginning of the season. We didn't really think about this until like last week. But what's going to happen here is I'm going to throw out some players' names to both Nimmer and Darian, and they're going to tell me if this is a good pickup, meaning a diamond pickup, or a bad pickup, meaning fool's gold. There's a lot of players that come out through the fantasy season. Biggest examples this year are probably like Derek Carr. He started hot at the beginning of the year and then went downhill and got hurt. Another guy, Carson Steele, there was like a lot of hype around him when Pacheco went down. They tried him out for a game. He didn't look like a starting running back. They went and got Kareem Hunt. Carson Steele is kind of a nobody now. I like the guy, but he owns an alligator as a pet, so that's
weird.
cool. Yeah. Yeah. But it's fool's gold behavior, if I had to say. But let's start with our or diamonds. I'll start with one name out of Buffalo, the second receiver now there, Keon Coleman. Nimmer, why don't you start? Fool's gold or diamond?
I think he's fool's gold. I think he's really just going to be more of a long threat for Buffalo. And you said wide receiver 2. I really see him as a wide receiver 3 behind Shakir and obviously Cooper. I think that he's still a rookie. I think that he's gonna they're just gonna kind of give him more experience rather than actually having him produce. So I mean, even with before Cooper, I thought Coleman was wasn't even Shakir was more of a target for Allen. So I don't think adding Cooper really drives his stock that high.
Darren, what do you think?
yeah. I think he's a diamond, especially now with the scenario with Cooper being in with him. I mean, quite frankly, we really didn't hear anything from Shakir or Curtis Samuel. So I think with adding Cooper, it's going to take the DB1, and he's going to be on top of that, on top of Cooper, which will give Coleman the ability to be on the opposite side, maybe even go into slot. Who knows? But I know the biggest issue with Coleman, even coming in, I think I may have said this in a previous episode, that separation was the biggest thing for him in college, and then even transitioning into the pros. Now, I mean, when you're getting strapped down by the cornerback 1 on every team, it's hard, even especially when you can't create that separation. So now that he's probably going to be seeing more slot corners, nickel corners, and then even the second best corner on defenses, I think it'll open up and give him more opportunities and more target share down the road. So I think he is a diamond going forward.
Yeah, I agree with Darian. I think there's some value here with Coleman. He might not be the shiniest diamond in the bank, but he, I think, has some value. I think Amari Cooper opens up some things
Mhm.
for him. Shakur, I like Shakur. There was a receiver they had there last year, a smaller guy. I can't remember his name, but I feel like that's kind of where Shakur is. He's playing
Mhm.
that similar role. I can't remember what that guy's name was. He was a fast, like 5'10" kind of guy, but I kind of feel like that's where Shakur is, even though I like some of the route running ability that Shakur has. Um, he really hasn't strung together a bunch of games that's like been super impressive, and he got hurt this year once he
Mhm.
started getting a lot of looks. So I think Coleman has a little bit more value there. Next name I have, this one comes out of Cleveland. This is Cedric Tillman. He had an impressive game this last week. He had 12 targets, 81 yards, 8 receptions, scored 18.1 points for the Browns. Darian, I'll start with you. Is this a diamond or is this fool's gold?
This one was kind of hard for me to really give an answer for. Uh, I mean, when you see it, you have 3 QBs come in. They all have different like favorite targets. But with that being said, the sample size for me is too small for me to give him diamond. So I'm gonna err on the side of fool's gold, and I could be completely wrong. But I mean, if you're looking at it like target wise, Njoku had 14, he had 12. I think you're going to see a different distribution, even with Chubb back. Jerry Judy still there too. Uh, a, I hate to say it, a lot of mouths to feed, but there's only going to be a couple of main targets, and I think that's going to be Njoku, who's going to take the most of them going forward. So I got Tillman as my fool's gold for right now until he proves otherwise.
Ember, what do you think?
Yeah, I think I definitely agree, especially because the quarterback that gave him 12 targets is not even going to be the starting quarterback anymore. Jameson Winston will be, and so I think Njoku is going to be number one. Did I say that wrong? Still,
Jameis Winston.
Winston. What did I say? Wilson.
You said
Jameson, it's
Jameson Winston.
Jameis.
Winston.
You're
Yeah.
you're confusing
Okay.
Jameson Williams and Jameis Winston.
Oh, my brain. I hate it so much. But yeah, so I think that Njoku is going to be the number one target, definitely. And I also think that with Winston, um, he's going to go more towards Elijah Moore, maybe, or Jerry Judy. I think that
Mhm.
I think being the fourth option, definitely. I can't see it. We might be wrong because there's too little sample sizes, but I say fool's gold.
All right, so I'll be the one to give him the diamond. I think maybe there's a chance he's going to be good. I know it's only been one game, but you look at Jerry Judy's numbers the past 3 games. He put 2.8 points up, 4.5, and 2.6. We all know what Steve Smith said about him. He is a jag, just a guy. So I'm going to say maybe Cedric Tillman is the guy that you want to have as like the last guy on your bench. He might be someone that makes a little bit of value. This offense is terrible. Granted, it's probably a little better than what it was like with Deshaun Watson, maybe, now that Chubb's back. And maybe I don't really know what they're doing at quarterback, if it's Jameis or DTR. Has that been talked about yet?
Yeah, I think they announced
I haven't
Jameson.
seen anything.
I think
They
I
announced
saw
Winston.
a tweet that Jameson Wills that Winston is going to be the he's going to be the starting quarterback.
Okay. Well, then that might benefit Judy because Winston's kind of like a deep shot thrower, and I'm sure my dog Winston in the other room's like, "What the hell is going on?" But
Starts coming
but
as my dog comes to me right now.
Another name I have for you. This one comes from the Saints, Cedric Wilson Jr. So he played for the Dolphins in the past. I think he also played for the Cowboys in the past. So he's had a pretty decent career in terms of length. Nimmer, do you think this is a fool's gold player or a diamond?
I think that with Olave coming back and Derek Carr, I and him getting less snaps than Memes and um, who's the other person? It was Memes and the other. I think it was like the third wide receiver in that offense without Olave or Shaheed. So I think Fool's Gold as well. Um, yeah, he was third in offenses. Yeah, exactly. So I think Fool's Gold.
What do you think, Darren?
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of a weird game watching Rattler one at QB, and then you had Tipton, Wilson, Means, Jawan Johnson, and Foster Moreau being all your receivers, your pass catchers. And I was just caught off guard. I was like, who the hell are these people? Like, we were so deep on the depth chart here. But when it comes to it, if Olave is coming back, I mean, you have Shaheed on IR. I think it is fool's gold too. Just as Nimmer said, just the snap count that he was on, or his being out there on plays, means you get limited amount of ability to get targeted. So I think it's a fool's gold situation going forward, especially if Olave comes back and Derek Carr, like Nimmer said.
I think it's fool's gold as well. He's had a long-ish career in the NFL, but most of these catches for him came in the second quarter. He scored, or not in the second quarter, in the second half. I mean,
Mhm.
he had one catch, I think, in the first quarter, and then all the rest of his catches came in the third and fourth quarter. He had 17.7 points. He scored a touchdown at the end, but this was with the third string quarterback. It was garbage time. The Broncos were kind of pulling away at that point. So another name, I think I skipped this one, Dontavian Wicks from the Packers. He has had an interesting fantasy season. There was a lot of hype coming in to this season about Dontavian Wicks. He had one pop game early in the season and then kind of has been up and down ever since. This last game, he scored 13.8 points. He's had some touchdowns this year, but he's also had some drops, some wide open drops where you kind of question, like, ooh, what's going on there? But Nimmer, what do you think? Do you think this is a diamond pickup or a fool's gold?
You know, going back to the beginning of the season, I said I'm trying to stay away from all Green Bay wide receivers. Sticking to it, there's just too many mouths to feed. With Jalen Reed pretty much being wide receiver one, Romeo Dobbs crying because he's not getting enough targets. Watson, he's there, but he's kind of injury prone, so you really don't know where he's going. Wicks still kind of the same thing. There's just so many different options, and Jordan Love likes to distribute the ball anyway. So I say fool's gold. I probably wouldn't pick him up, I haven't picked him up in any of my leagues. Maybe in my 14-man league, just because it's so deep. You could never go wrong with any, and just he's more of a boom or bust. So you just gotta hope that you pick him on the right week. But I see fool's gold all the way.
What do you think, Darren?
I honestly like Wicks, and I think, to his credit, I think the issue is his concentration drops, and that's his biggest thing is dropping the ball. He's got some wide open passes thrown to him, and he drops them. I think he's just thinking 1 second ahead, and it's messing him up, so he drops it. With that being said, I think he is a diamond, but he is coated in dirt, and you're buffing it out. Once he's, figures the drops out and figures his place in this offense and his role, I think he can be a great star in addition to this offense, especially with how Watson has been playing. and his injury-prone seasons. I think he'll find himself pretty solidified in this offense going forward, especially when he fixes the drops. So he's a diamond, but he's a diamond in the rough.
Yeah, I think he's fool's gold right now, but I think he could mature into a better player. Maybe all of us in fantasy were a year early on Wicks. Maybe it's next year where he starts to kind of put it together. It is a tough offense just because Dobbs, Watson, Wicks, Jaden Reed, Kraft, like there's so many options to throw to. So I'll call him fool's gold for now. The next name, this comes from New England, Demario Douglas. He was a huge waiver wire target 2 weeks ago. That game before 2 weeks ago, that was his 21.2 game where he played pretty well. And then this last week, he left the game early with injury, and he scored 3.4 points. So definitely two sides of the story there. Darren, what do you think? Is this a diamond player or is this fool's gold?
I think he's a diamond. I think he left the game, I think, due to an illness, so which limited him out on the field. I mean, I watched the first two. I was watching the game, and he got targeted like I think 3 out of the first 5 plays. So they wanted to get him the ball. He was in their script, and Drake May is going to have targets to throw to. Booty and I think Polk were also out there. They were just kind of running routes, to be honest, doing some cardio. But I think Douglas is definitely the main, if not the second piece in that offense that Drake May is liking. I mean, we saw it with Hunter Henry. He's going to try to target him. But I also think Douglas is a diamond in this offense going forward.
Nimmer, what is your opinion on this?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I kind of agree with both you guys. Were in the beginning, or that he was a big waiver wire ad, and whenever you can get a wide receiver 1 in waiver wires, that's always a plus. I think that he's definitely, because of the illness, we can't really dock him for that. Because so I definitely believe that, especially with Drake May, needs that one receiver to kind of go to, and I believe that Douglas will be it. So I think he's a big and are diamonds white, big and white, shiny diamond. Are diamonds white? Are they blue?
They could be white or silver or
Okay.
Black, yellow.
Well, he's
yeah, they could be a bunch of different things.
He's a shiny diamond. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah, I think he's the shiniest diamond of the names we've listed. He's had 3 games this year where he got 9 targets. That's a lot of targets for a receiver. He seems like maybe, yeah, I'm going to say I think he's the most dynamic playmaker on this team. So if they can just get him involved, that'll be good for the Patriots. It is kind of hard to trust this offense with Drake May, with a rookie head coach running things. But I do think Douglas should be rostered. And the last name, Mr. Unlimited, Russell Wilson, coming out with 24.86 points this last game. We talked about it yesterday. Most yards from a Steeler quarterback debut since 1940. Nimmer, is this a diamond or a fool's gold?
I hate to say this, but I don't think this is going to be sustainable. Been preaching it for the past week and a half. The Steelers schedule after the Giants, after our bye, as Tomlin said, it's the teeth of our schedule. And I think that with the coaches on the other side of the field, they're gonna know exactly how to play Russell Wilson, and that's just a pressure. He's gonna throw skip balls. He's gonna either check it down. I can't see him doing that well, especially when there's other quarterbacks on the waiver wire like Sam Darnold, Geno Smith. Quarterbacks like that, I probably would stay away from Russell Wilson. So I'm gonna say fool's gold, unfortunately.
What do you think, Darren?
Yeah, I agree with Nimmer. I think we had a little bit of this conversation yesterday. Um, they have a gauntlet coming up in their schedule, and you switched him in during the middle of the season. So he's got to pick up a groove before the hardest stint of your schedule. I don't think as a QB you can build that quickly. Um, so I think he is fool's gold. I think he's gonna have glimpses of old Russ throwing some deep balls, making some crazy completions. But at the end of it, I think he's just not going to sustain that level that we saw against the Jets this past week.
Plus, if you look at all of his throws, it's more him instead of him placing it in a good spot. It's more the receiver making a good play on the ball, and that could only go so far with in the NFL. Sorry.
Agreed.
No, you're good. I kind of think this one's a hard one to choose. He finished last year, I think, as like the QB 11 or 12, I think, in fantasy. So that's kind of where it's like, ooh, is he a diamond or is he not? Coming out the gate, scoring nearly 25 points. That's a pretty good start for him. I'm going to say he's fool's gold right now just because of the schedule they have ahead of him. They're going to be playing a lot of really good defenses coming up here soon. And it could have just been like a fluky kind of game that we see from a lot of quarterbacks for their first start. Like Nim said, I don't know how sustainable this is. They put up the most points they have. The Steelers did this last week offensively. So it'll be interesting to see how it plays out. Right now, I'm going to say Russell Wilson is fool's gold.
Yeah, just to piggyback on your point, I mean, I feel like now that teams have tape on him, it's going to be a lot easier to defend him. So
Yeah.
the Jets have
100%.
nothing to go off, and they have to go off, what they had in the Broncos. So it's a very good point.
Yeah, I feel like there was multiple plays they ran too where it was like a rollout and there was one read like Darnell Washington or Firemuth on the flat, and then there was like a medium route coming behind him, and then there was a deep post behind that. They ran that play like 2 or 3 times, and I think that was just to get Russ comfortable. But I think you're going to have to expand the playbook more, and if Russ can't do that, well, then you're going to put up some stinky offensive performances.
Don't say that.
But let's get into our next topic. This is wide receivers on the move. So this kind of has a league news feel to it, but we're going to talk a little bit about the effect on fantasy. Just to paint a full picture of some of the trades that have happened for wide receivers this year. You had Deontay Johnson traded to the Panthers, Keenan Allen traded to the Bears, Jerry Jeudy traded to the Browns, Stephon Diggs traded to the Texans, Jahan Dotson traded to the Eagles, Devontae Adams traded to the Jets, Amari Cooper traded to the Bills, and this morning, DeAndre Hopkins traded to the Chiefs. So let's focus on DeAndre Hopkins first. He is now in an offense. I mean, what a time for DeAndre to go to bed as a Titan and to wake up as a Kansas City Chief with the difference of Will Levis being your quarterback to Patrick Mahomes being your quarterback. He's 32 years old. I think that's something to take note of. He did have 1,000 yards last year with Will Levis, and I think Malik Willis played at times too. So there's a highlight there. He was traded for a 5th rounder today. So it's one of those conditional picks, could turn into a 4th rounder for the Titans. Titans, what are you doing? Why would you trade him to the Chiefs? They're in the AFC. All these receivers have been traded in the AFC with the exception of Deontay Johnson, Keenan Allen, and Jahan Dotson. I don't know why we would put another star receiver on one of the big teams in the AFC if I'm the Titans. But what do you think the effect on fantasy is? Nimmer, I'll go to you since you now have DeAndre on your team. Do you think this is going to be a fast effect, or you think it's going to take some time?
I think it takes a week. I think it yeah. I would say probably a week just because there's no chemistry. There's I mean D Hop's really been in the NFC the majority of his career, right? So not even like the Pro Bowls, and there's no really chemistry between him and oh no, he was on the Texans, sorry.
Mhm.
But yeah, I don't think there's too much chemistry, but I think that all great players know how to play with each other, especially when you have Patrick Mahomes. That he makes any player great. I mean, he made Juju, who is I feel like he's as old, if not older, than D Hop. At least he looks like it. He makes him look he makes him look like he's top 5 receiver in the league. So with you when you actually have some talent behind that, I think that this is going to be a great opportunity for D Hop, especially because he's been on crappy teams his whole entire career. So, but I think he shouldn't have even gone to the Titans. Honestly, remember that one interview that when we were talking about trades before he went to the Titans, he's like, "Oh, what quarterbacks do you guys want to go?" And he listed the top 5, and he ended up not landing on any of those. So, yeah, no, I think this is going to be a great addition to the Chiefs, unfortunately, but I think this is also going to be good for D Hop and his career.
How do you think they're going to use him? Do you think it's going to be like the whole route tree? Is he like a deep ball guy?
Yeah, I think it's going to be more the whole route tree, especially because maybe not deep balls, just because they have Worthy going more deep, even though it's not as consistent as probably they would like. But because of that speed, they'll definitely use that more of the deep balls. But he's going to just be more of like a all-around type of wide receiver, kind of like what they did with the Rashid Rice, honestly. So,
Darren, what are your thoughts on this?
I don't know. I'm kind of torn. I mean, I know he's 32 years old. He's, I think, been injured this year, but he's also hasn't really put up any good performances. Maybe just one. I think where he had 7 targets, caught 6 of them, had I think 19 fantasy points. But outside of that, he's had somewhere it was like 5 points, 1.8, 0.9. Like he really hasn't been out there on the field. So I think it was a good move to get a veteran wide receiver for the Chiefs on that team because you have Juju who's hurt, you have Rashee Rice that's out. I mean, outside of that, you have Worthy, Watson. I don't even know Watson's first name. Kelsey, Sky
Hardman.
Moore, who's out there, and then Nicole Hardman. Um,
he's still in the
it just
Chiefs. That's crazy.
Yeah,
yeah,
he just scored a touchdown this last game.
Oh my god.
yeah, insane. So I mean, you needed to bring some kind of spark to your wide receiver core, give Mahomes someone to pass to, and diversify that team. Fantasy wise, I'm just with how piss poor Mahomes has been playing. I mean, I don't think it really drastically increases this Chiefs' like offense. Their defense is honestly what's keeping them in this winning mode. And then when they score when they need to, they get a turnover, then they execute on it. But overall, I think it was a good move. It's a serviceable move. I just don't think his fantasy value really goes up too much going forward for the rest of the season. He may pop off, but I think he'll still kind of have quieter games. He's just going to make it easier for another player on the Chiefs offense to get open. So I think this increases the value, I think, for Kelsey, who's kind of put up a okay year so far. And then Worthy for deep balls. McCall Hardman, I think, is going to be more intermediate routes, doing those whip or zip routes, whatever you call them, being out in the flat, and then being a yak king. So that's kind of my thoughts. I think it's a good move, serviceable, but I don't think Hopkins' value is skyrocketing.
Yeah, I think I put his value as like a wide receiver too. I don't know if he's a wide receiver one. He probably will have a couple of games where, he gets close to that 25, 30 point range. I don't see that being a very consistent thing for him, but I could see some days where they feature D Hop and he looks really, really good. I do think this probably benefits Travis Kelce the most. Travis Kelce owners. I think this is going to open up the middle of the field and the shallow routes that Kelce will run. And as for Worthy, he's good. He's still rookie. He's still learning. So he's just at the beginning. You can't really expect him to be this really good player. I know he came out this year and had like a 20-point game right off the bat, but it's kind of caught up to him like this speed thing. Unless you're Tyreek Hill and you can run all the routes like Tyreek Hill can, the speed as a wide receiver is a little overrated, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
And for D Hop, I think he'll be good. I think he'll be a solid wide receiver in fantasy. He'll probably put up some duds as well, though. So just kind of the way that Chiefs offense works. That's just kind of how it is. They kind of spread it out all over the place, and there really hasn't been a receiver there that you can trust outside of Kelce and outside of Tyreek when Tyreek was there.
I feel like you can trust Rashid Rice when he was healthy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he looked good this year. Yeah, until he got hurt. But another receiver that is in talks of a trade. This has kind of gotten louder and louder over the past couple of days. Cooper Kupp from the Rams. There's a lot of talks going on that he might be traded. They asked him, the press asked him if he has heard about those rumors. He said he's aware of it and there's really nothing he can do about it. He'd like to be in the Rams building and just stick with the game plan. To me, it kind of sounded like he knows something's about to happen, which makes me a little worried as a fantasy owner of him. But I want to ask you guys, I don't know for sure if the Steelers are in on talks with the Rams for Cooper Kupp, but that's been a rumor floating around.
Man.
There's also rumors that the Chargers and Tampa Bay are interested, and maybe even the Chiefs as well, but I don't think the Chiefs are going to be going after him with getting DeAndre today. But I guess I'll start with you, Darren. Which team would you like to see him go to? Should fantasy managers be concerned or excited about this upcoming trade if it happens?
Man. To answer your first question, or the second question first, should fantasy owners be excited? I'd be kind of on the fence. I'd be a little worrisome because Matt Stafford loves targeting Kupp. We saw it in week 1 where he had 14 targets. So that's the kind of volume that you love seeing as an owner for a wide receiver, especially that is a potential or could be a wide receiver 1 type prospect. But when it comes to who's looking at him, that you mentioned Kansas City, Tampa Bay, Chargers. I feel like for him personally, he'd probably want to be traded to the Chargers. So it's just kind of across town where he doesn't have to move. He can just kind of, pick things up and keep going. But I'd love to see him on the Bucs. I mean, you just lost Godwin. And if you can replace Godwin with Kupp, who loves running in the slot, is very efficient when he plays slot, I think that's the missing piece that you can have for that offense to be successful. But I mean, me being a Commanders fan, I think we make the move too. Just say screw it, throw in a second, maybe a third too. Who cares? Have McLaurin, Kupp, Diami Brown, Noah Brown, have them all out there. I think that'd be a really cool offense to have, especially for a young QB like Jaden. So all in all, be worrisome depending on where he goes. but be excited if he does go to Tampa Bay or the Commanders if they put their name in the ring.
What do you think, Nim?
What about the Steelers? You should be ecstatic that he's going on the Steelers.
Oh yeah,
Um,
they missed out on every other wide receiver. They're gonna miss out on this one again.
Bro, it's honestly it's so frustrating. Like how, like I don't know. It's yeah. No, I think that honestly, no matter where he goes, he's gonna be a good fit. I think that the place that really do we know his contract? So after this year, like if he gets traded, would he stay on the team, or after this year he would be a free agent?
That's a good question. I'll look that up.
But nevertheless, I think that it's honestly kind of a slap in the face. I mean, I know, you know, the NFL is a business and stuff like that, but this person, this person is the one that really stuck with you when you went to the Super Bowl. He's really the person that, I mean, he won the Triple Crown like 3-4 years ago. And then what are you gonna do? You're gonna just ship him off, you know? Like that's just super disrespectful, especially if after he says that he wants to be a Ram, after him and Sam Bradford.
Don't say Bradford.
Damn it.
Matthew Stafford.
Don't say Bradford. Matt Stafford. Him and Matt Stafford have a podcast together, and you know, like it's just like where's the respect aspect when it comes to that? Like let him. I mean, I don't know how many years are on his contract or whatnot, but let him finish out the contract. What are you gonna get? You're gonna get a 3rd round pick, like a 4th round conditional, huh?
It's through 2026, his contract.
So 2 more years. I mean,
yeah.
Is that draft pick really like? I don't know. Me personally, I would rather have a veteran receiver than a draft. Especially, I mean, I don't really pay attention to college, unlike these two. But I can't see there being another Cooper Kupp, even a Puka Nacua, you know, that will fall to the 3rd or 4th round. So it's frustrating. But for me, besides the Steelers, I really want to see him on the Chargers. I think the Chargers just need that wide receiver in order to really excel. They have the defense, they have the running game, they have the quarterback, they have the coach. All they're really missing is that one receiver that go-to that Herbert really needs in order to excel his career.
Yeah, as good as Cooper Kupp is, I do think there's a big difference on where he lands. I don't think he's a very good fit for the Steelers. I think he would go there and we would kind of be like, where is Cooper Kupp now? Like it would, I think it'd be a bad story for him because if you look at the offense that's run in the Rams, there's a lot of motions. I mean, we saw that week 1 when Cooper Kupp was healthy. He's motioning every single play. He's running choice routes. It's pretty much up to him, the routes he runs, what he reads on the field with the Rams. And in Arthur Smith's offense, I don't see a lot of choice routes. I don't see a lot of creativity like that.
Yeah, but with this Steelers receiving core, who would you trust to do that? I wouldn't trust any of our receivers in order to do that. So
No,
if we got
that's
Cooper
true.
Kupp, I would assume that Arthur Smith would go into his bag and say, all right, we're changing up the playbook and we're setting up specific designs. At least that's my hope, and that's what I would do if I was Arthur Smith. He is a competent man. I mean, maybe not a competent head coach, but he's a competent offensive coordinator, and I think that's something that he would do. So give some heat off George Pickens, but
yeah.
Sorry.
No, you're good. Some of the other fits, yeah, I think the Chargers would be an interesting fit. I think that would be exciting for Ladd McConkey just to have someone with the similar kind of build come in and kind of try to teach you how to run the routes, how to read the defenses. I think that'd be a really interesting team for him to go to. The Buccaneers, I think that would be a really interesting team to go to if Godwin comes back. later next season, and Mike Evans is there, and you have Cooper Kupp there. I mean, that's a pretty intense wide receiver room. So that'd be fun to watch. Really, I want him to stay on the Rams. If you had to ask me where I want him to be, I want him in the Rams uniform. I don't really see him, like, as much as that Buccaneers idea sounds cool. I don't really see him in a Buccaneers uniform. I think that looks kind of weird, to be honest. And when I think of the Rams, I think of Matthew Stafford and I think of Cooper Kupp. And I think that's kind of, and I guess that's the new era Rams, not the old era Rams. But when I think of this era Rams with the new uniforms that they have, those ugly yellow pants that they have, I think of Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford and the things they did just a couple of years ago when they won the Super Bowl. So really, I would love him to stay on the Rams. If he ends up going to another team as a fantasy owner, I am concerned.
See that.
But let's get into fantasy MVP. We kind of took a lull on this topic for whatever reason, but we're back with it this week. We're going to predict who the highest scorers in fantasy is this weekend. So, Nimmer, I'll start with you. Who's your fantasy MVP this week?
My fantasy MVP is actually on your team, Drew. It is going to be Jordan Love. We kind of talked about him when we talked about Wicks. There's just so many options. He loves distributing the ball. And he's also playing the Jacksonville Jaguars. So the Jags are 29th in scoring and 31st in passing. They're just a really, really bad team. And then Green Bay is 7th in scoring and 9th in passing. So I could definitely see Jordan Love carving up the Jags defense.
Darren, who is your fantasy MVP?
Yeah, I'm going with another player in green. I'm going with Breece Hall here, playing against New England. We watched last week. The New England Patriots are pretty abysmal against the run. They gave up, I think it was 25.5 points to Tank Bigsby. 23.8 points to Tank Bigsby, who had 26 carries, 118 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Now, Breece Hall is leaps and bounds better than Tank. And with the pass catching upside of Breece, I think this is a boom game from him. I dare I say he could probably crest 40 points in this one with just his running capability and then being able to pass catch out the back. So I think he's going to be in the well into the 30s, if not break 40 on this upcoming weekend.
And my fantasy MVP is the guy behind Jordan Love. That is Josh Jacobs. I've kind of gone towards whoever's playing the Jaguars this year. That's kind of been something I've done. Now I'm doing it again. I think Josh Jacobs has got a good matchup with the Jaguars. They have the 27th ranked rushing defense. Josh Jacobs has kind of had a weirder year for the running backs. Some good games, some kind of mid games. But I know last week he did well with just 12 carries. I think he's in line for a much bigger workload this week. If you're going up against that defense, I think you start with the run and then you end with the pass. Really, they could probably do whatever they want and beat the Jags. So that is our MVP, fantasy MVP for this week. Let's go to players on the rise. So this is another topic that we have been doing. These are players that we think are steadily climbing or about to explode. So, Darian, why don't you start? Who's your player on the rise this week?
So I had a couple, and we kind of touched on them in the episode yesterday about waiver wire ads. So I'm going to go with Ray Davis. And as a second guy is Troy Franklin, wide receiver for the Broncos. But first and foremost, Ray Davis. He's running back 2. for the Buffalo Bills, and he's been very efficient. I think he's got at least 4.2 yards per carry. When he has been out there, he showed glimpses of greatness, but he is behind Cook. With Cook being kind of fringe when he with a turf toe injury, I could see Davis picking up some snap counts and taking some snaps from Cook going forward. But the second guy, Troy Franklin, with this Broncos team, I was high on them at the beginning of the year. I thought they were going to be exciting, which is the case. They're showcasing that going forward. And with Bo Nix being a rookie and then also having Troy Franklin, a guy that he connected with in college, I think that relationship is going to continue to build and go forward. And I think this past week he put up 10 fantasy points. So I think as the season goes along in these different competitions, if Sutton's getting guarded well, I think Nix is going to find Troy Franklin in his next reads. So those two guys are definitely on the rise going forward for the rest of the season.
I like those picks. Nimmer, who are your player, or who is your player on the rise?
I like the Jalen Warren. I think that we've been kind of talking about him. I think Drew mentioned it first. If Russ comes back, Jalen Warren's stock is going to go up. He was included in our trade today. I think that with Russ getting a lot of pressure within the rest of the year, I know I said that the Steelers have a gauntlet, but with Russ getting pressure, he's just going to try to dump it off to Warren. Warren is the better running back blocking running back. He's better than Najee. So I think that they're going to put him in more when it comes to passing downs. So once he's going to try blocking, maybe try to shed a block if he can't. A lot of screens, which is perfect for a PPR league. So I definitely see Warren's stock going up.
Yeah, if you look at Russ's success last year, there was a lot of panic checkdowns to Samaje Perine and Javonte Williams and the players that they had in the backfield last year. That's why I do like Jalen Warren now with Russ there. On the rise for me, I have got the Dolphins receivers, Tyreek and Jalen Waddle. I know there's a lot of fantasy owners out there that have been just dying with the lack of production from these two guys. If you're a winning team and you have one of these players, well, way to go, way to stick through it, because now I think these two players are on the rise. If you're a losing team, maybe this gets you back in the hunt. I know that Tyreek had an interview today. He said, "We're back, baby. Strike up the band. Start me this week." I believe in that 100%. I think you see Tua back into this offense. It's going to be a lot like it was week 1 and week 2 when Tua was there. And I think these guys are going to be producing like we anticipated before the season started.
Let's do. Isn't Odell in the Dolphins?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't.
Throw him in there. He's on the rise.
Yeah,
Odell's on the rise too. I think Jonnu might be on the rise, the tight end.
Yeah, Jonnu Smith. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I'd throw Jonnu in there. Let's do our fantasy outlook. This is a topic where we kind of talk about the next 3 matchups for a certain player. We all kind of pick a player. We do our own research. We talk about it, and then we display it here on the show. So, Nimmer, I'll start with you. Let's get your fantasy outlook. Who is the player and what are their matchups?
I really this team has had, coming into the season, I think they had like the easiest or second easiest schedule, and that is, wrong person. I was going to say DeAndre Swift, but I also like Minnesota's, damn. 1 second. I guess I changed it at the last minute. That is so funny.
Aaron Jones, baby.
Yeah.
Aaron Jones.
He has his matchups are going to be all right. The Rams, Indianapolis, Jacksonville, and Tennessee. So he's also produced 20-point games against Detroit, which I know who has a kind of a wishy-washy defense now that Agent Hutchinson's gone. But I really do like Aaron Jones as well as JJ, so I like Jones and JJ going up. And then on the other side, which this is what my notes say, I like DeAndre Swift and the Chicago Bears. I also like Swift and Moore. Moore is kind of iffy just because Caleb Williams is still kind of getting his training wheels off. But with Swift, they have Washington, Arizona, and New England. They're all bottom half or bottom team defenses, and so those are the two teams. If you have a player on that team, I would definitely start the next couple of weeks.
Garen, who is your outlook today?
For me, it's Kenneth Walker. And boy, does he have some great matchups coming here in the next 3 games. So first and foremost, they got Buffalo. And then the week after that, LA. Then they have their bye week. And then after the bye, they're coming into San Francisco. So with that being said, we'll start off with Buffalo. They're ranked 31st against the run. They're currently giving up 930 yards to the running back, which is an average of 133 yards per game. So really huge run game against the Bills. Mind you, a bigger body running back several weeks ago ran all over him. It was 199 yards by Derrick Henry, and I think it was for a couple of touchdowns. So I think Walker can recreate that going with this Bills team. Then LA Rams, they're ranked 23rd against the run. And then San Francisco, 19th against the run, who just gave up 78 yards and 2 TDs to Kareem Hunt on, I believe, 26 carries. So the recipe is to run against them and run it down their throats, which I think that's one, as a interdivisional rival, you're going to do. You want to assert that dominance. Who's top dog on the NFC West? And I think it's going to be the Seahawks going forward. So KW9's outlook is beautiful, especially given that he has rest in between the Rams and San Fran.
And I've got Kyle Pitts for my fantasy outlook. For the Kyle Pitts loyalists out there, I think we've made it. This is the year that he is outperforming his projections. He's become a pretty pivotal part of that offense for the Falcons. He's got a good slate of games coming up for his next 3 games. He's got Tampa Bay. They are 23rd against the pass. Dallas, they're 10th. I would still start Kyle Pitts against Dallas, to be honest with you. And then you have New Orleans, who is 17th against the pass. The last 3 games for Kyle Pitts, he's racked up 230 yards for the Falcons. I don't know if it was 230 exactly, but it was right around that number. That offense, it's starting to look like the top weapon is Drake London, which is crazy to think. The second weapon is Bijan, and Kyle Pitts is right after that. So, I think Kyle Pitts has got a good outlook for this next couple of weeks. Even after that New Orleans game, they play Denver, and then they go into their bye after that. So I like all those matchups for Kyle Pitts. If you have him, I would stick with him. He's one of the top tight ends this year for a reason. So now let's get into the against the spread segment.
Oh, shit.
It is week 8, but that's okay.
Sorry.
I will say, I think these spreads are kind of difficult this week. Just looking at the slate, I definitely had to think pretty long about who I was going to pick. There are some huge spreads coming from like the Titans and Lions game, the Patriots and Jets game, the Broncos and Panthers game. So I guess let's start here with the Vikings at the Rams. This one surprises me. I don't really know how Minnesota's only favored by 2.5 points. Darren, why don't you start? Who are you taking here?
Yeah, I was looking at that line and thought it was pretty weird and thought it must have been a mistake because I think the Vikings will definitely hand the Rams a loss this week. But I did see a stat though by Gruden. He said I think the Rams are 4-1 on Thursday nights, and then also the Vikings are like 0-6 when it comes to coming off of a short week. So he could be onto something, but I think the Vikings are just too good, and they're not going to take 2 L's in a row like that.
Oh, Darian. Sports books never make a mistake. They know so. Oops, that's the Ravens. My bad. Oh, Nimmer, you suck at this. No, but I think that I agree. I mean, there has to be something why it's so low. The fact that the Vikings are 4-1, and what are the Rams? They're like 2-5 or something like that. I don't know, but there has to be something which kind of makes me weary. But I can definitely, I can't confidently pick the Rams, so I'll definitely pick the Vikings 2.5.
Yeah, the Vikings defense has kind of dropped in pass defense, but I think it's probably because they've faced some pretty good teams this year passing that could pass the ball already. So I mean, Lions I think has the most to do with them dropping in the rankings in pass defense, but I think the Vikings smoked the Rams. I don't think the Rams can compete with this team. Ravens at the Browns. The spread here is another one of those big spreads, 9.5 points. The Ravens are favored by. Nimmer, who do you have covering here?
Can't choose the Browns. They're just so bad. I have to choose the Ravens.
Yeah, I mean, I got to follow in suit. Ravens are just that much better than the Browns. They'll probably win by 10 or more.
Yeah, as much as I would love to see Jameis Winston come in there and light it up, I don't see that happening, so I'm going to take the Ravens here. Titans at Lions in Detroit. The Lions are favored by 11.5 points. Like I said, I think Mason Rudolph is starting this game, so it's not Will Levis. Darren, who do you think covers here?
What a weird line. God, I'm pretty sure I said the Titans cover this.
You did.
Because it's just so large of a line. Even the line between the Lions and the Cowboys wasn't this large. But yeah, I think the Titans can cover this one.
I couldn't disagree with you more. I think if the Lions do what they did against the Vikings with the Vikings defense, they'll completely demolish the Titans. So I can definitely see them winning by more than 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's a huge line. But I would think the Lions are pretty hot right now. I think they're probably the hottest team in the NFL right now. So I'm just going to go with the Lions. I guess just ask the Cowboys how it is to play against them. So Cardinals at Dolphins. Tua's back. Cardinals are coming off a win against the Chargers.
Is it
Darren,
official
who do you
he's
have
playing
covering here?
this weekend? This week?
Tua?
Yeah.
I think he's still labeled on the IR, but I mean,
They gave him
Tyreek's
points. They designated him points or something.
Tyreek's already talking like he's back, so I think he's back. I think he was healthy a couple weeks ago, but they're trying to protect his brain as much as they can. So
Keep him away from the mic then. But yeah, I don't know if he comes back and he's firing on all cylinders. I think the Cardinals can cover this. I hate to say it, but yeah, give me the Cardinals.
I agree. I think there's gonna be some rest
Mm.
in that brain of Tua's. So I think that the Cardinals at least cover by 3, especially the way that they played against the Chargers. I think that they, they did really well.
Yeah, they're so up and down, the Cardinals. Give me the Dolphins. I like the Dolphins in this matchup with Tua back, and I think that offense is going to look pretty good.
Actually, I'm gonna change. I'm waffling. I'm gonna
Uh,
move my end.
We'll stay here. Keep the Cardinals warm.
Jets at Patriots. The Jets are favored by 7.5 points. I'm not gonna lie, I almost went with the Patriots here, but I guess you can reveal where I'm at. I'm going with the Jets. Just call me Bill Burr. I don't know why I keep going with the Jets, but I guess I'm gonna get burned one more time.
I'm
So,
the same way. I have so much confidence in the Jets. I don't. They can't disappoint me again, especially the way that they played the Patriots before. I hope it's the same type of matchup.
I'm not gonna lie. I think this was a fat finger. I did not mean to click the Patriots for this. So can you please drag the D, put it on over to the
Yeah.
Jets? It's inconsistent with how I think Brees Hall is going to go for 40
I
fucking
know,
fantasy points.
jeez. When you said that, when you started talking, I was like, wait, what?
Yeah, let me. Yeah, that was a fat finger when I was scrolling, probably.
That's hilarious.
man, watch them only win by a field goal, and we're all wrong though.
I'm going to be so pissed.
Falcons at Buccaneers. This was probably the most entertaining game of the year so far when they played the last time. You're seeing a lot more injuries now with the Buccaneers. Mike Evans out, Chris Godwin out. So a depleted offense for the Buccaneers, and Baker has kind of been on a tear, throwing a bunch of picks since. But Darren, who do you got covering here?
Yeah, I like the Falcons in this one. I think they steal it again.
Yeah, that's weird. So on ESPN, it says Tampa Bay's the favorite, but on FanDuel, the Falcons are the favorite. So, but yeah, give me the Falcons. The Buccaneers. The heck? Oh, the Buccaneers have too many injuries, and the Falcons hardly have any. So.
Yeah, I think it just comes down to health. I'm going with the Falcons too. Maybe a little swag surfing in Tampa. I love when Kirk said that. He was like, "Yeah, I think they call it the swag surf."
It looks just so awesome, and I was just like,
"Oh, it was so cool." He goes back home and he pats on the "Live, Laugh, Love" sign in his living room, and he sits down and he's like, "That was a good game." We got the Packers at the Jaguars. The Packers are favored by 4.5 points. Nimmer, who do you got covering here?
I mean, there's no way that even like this, why are they only up? They should be at least 7.5. So that's where I would put the line. So give me that 4.5.
Who you got, Darian?
Yeah, this is a no-brainer. We're talking about the Jags here. Give me the Packers.
Yeah, Jags are terrible. Give me the Packers as well. The Colts at the Texans. Oh, shoot. I think I picked the wrong one. Oh, no, I didn't. No, we're good. The Texans are favored by 5.5 points. Number, who do you got covering?
I have the Texans. I think that C.J. Stroud owns the lot house, as Pat McAfee would say. But I think that he's gonna tear that defense up. I'm sorry, Pat, but if you're
You got Darren.
No, it was a close matchup.
I'm sure he's watching them.
A man can hope, right? I would literally watch him every day. I love him so much.
Right in his hometown. So maybe.
But Yeah, well, week one it was a close matchup, but AR, I mean, he sucks. So give me the Texans.
Yeah, I think this drought that AR has been in, I'm going to be honest, I don't think he ever gets out of it this season. I think this is the perfect example of the sophomore slump. He is in one of the worst ones I think I've ever seen. So he looks really bad, really, really bad.
Would it be a sophomore slump
I'm
if
gonna
he
go with
didn't
the
play his
Texans.
rookie year? If he didn't play his rookie year, he only played like half a year, so this is technically like his
Yeah,
True.
yeah, but those like whatever it was, 5 games or whatever he played, everyone was like losing their mind over him.
Yeah.
And even like the first 2 games of this season, there was like some really cool highlights that came out. And I don't know if it's the injury that's making him play bad, but even before the injury, he was like not very good with short passes. So it's been a really weird year for him. Eagles at the Bengals in Cincinnati. Cincinnati's favored by 2.5 points. That is pretty weird to me. Darren, who do you have covering?
Yeah, I mean, I think maybe the reason why they're favored is the Eagles secondary. You could think T and Jamar Chase are going to cut him up, but I think the Eagles offense is just a little too potent. So I have them covering.
And then who do you got?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a shootout. I think that both of the defenses, especially the secondaries, are not that good, but I think that the receiving core, the receiving core and the quarterbacks are really good. I do see the Bengals squeaking it out. Um, so I have the Bengals covering.
Wow. I'm going to go with the Eagles. I think maybe this line has to do with the fact that they just both played the Browns, and maybe the bettors are saying that the Bengals played the Browns better than the Eagles played the Browns. But I don't know. I mean, the Bengals have been such a weird team this year that I can't really see them beating the Eagles.
I feel like the
Saints.
Bengals are going to win, and this is going to skyrocket their momentum into the rest of the season. That's going to be my hot take.
Streak.
Yeah. Went from Darian's take to Nimmer's. Saints at Chargers. I guess there's a chance Derek Carr is going to play. I feel like he probably won't play, but maybe he's a tough guy. So the Chargers are favored by 7.5 points. Nimmer, who do you have covered here?
Yeah, I have the Chargers. I think that they really should have beat the Cardinals. There's just a bunch of weird turnovers that really changed the momentum of the game. But I think that the Saints, if Derek Carr does come back, I don't think he's going to make that big of a difference with that offense. And if he doesn't, then I think that's where this line's at. I can definitely see the Chargers running it down their throat and winning by at least 10 points.
Darren, who do you got?
I can't see that really happening. I mean, you gotta be able to pass the ball unless they're gonna just stack the box against the run. And Marshawn Lattimore, I mean, he's locked down. He put Sutton in his place. I mean, Sutton's not amazing, but also, who did the Chargers have? They have McConkey, Quinn Johnston, Will Disley, as I said yesterday. I mean, they're going to lock that stuff down. So I think the Saints cover.
Yeah, I got the Saints too. I think this is too big of a spread. Especially if Carr comes back. I think that's too big of a spread.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think Carr is going to play, but even if it's a rookie, I think I'll trust the defense and keep it close. Plus, they just got embarrassed by the Broncos. You don't want to get embarrassed by the Chargers back-to-back. That would suck.
Yeah.
Bills at the Seahawks. This is going to be a fun game, I think. Buffalo is favored in Seattle by 2.5 points. Darren, who do you have covering here?
I like that line. I think that's a really good line going forward. But I do think the Bills cover.
Who do you got, Nim?
Yeah, I agree. I think that the Bills with Amari Cooper, now that they're getting a little bit more of that chemistry going, I think that he's going to do well. And I think they cover as well.
Yeah, I've got the Bills as well. With the way that Josh Allen's playing right now, not turning the ball over, if he can keep that up, I think this could be a really surprising Bills team by the end of the year. So they're kind of at the moment running away with the division. I think this win will put them even higher in the standings in that division. So I'm going to take the Bills. The Bears at Commanders. We all kind of wish that this was going to be Caleb Williams versus Jaden Daniels, but it looks like Jaden Daniels is probably not going to play. He still might. I mean, I'm not a doctor or anything, so he still could play. But he had that rib injury last week where he hurt it, came back in the game, tried to play, and then, or maybe he was just on the sideline and he was like, no, there's no way I'm going to be able to do this. And then they took him to the locker room. So looks like it's going to be Mariota versus Caleb Williams. Mariota played really well last week. Darren, I'll go to you again.
Yeah, I mean, I really wish Jaden Daniels would be playing in this, which is why I selected the Commanders to cover. I think we still can, but there might be a last minute change for me going into the game because I think the Bears defense is just really good, especially when it comes to pass defense. And our pass defense is pretty bad. I think we're bottom 5. So I think Caleb could execute on us. DJ Moore could pop off, same with the Dunze. So, but all in all, can't bet against the Commanders now. I'm too high on them.
Number, who do you got?
Yeah, I can definitely bet against the Commanders. I think that even with Jaden Daniels, I don't think that he's really played a top 10 defense. Now, do I think that he's better than Caleb Williams? Definitely by far, 100%. But I think that the Bears' defense is just so much better, and I don't think that Jaden Daniels really has seen a top 10 defense. If he plays, if Mariota plays, I don't see Mariota really doing that well. Like, yeah, he looked really good, but it was also against the Panthers, which is probably the worst team in the NFL behind the Patriots and the Jags. So I like the Bears to cover. Give me the 3 points.
Yeah, I'm taking the Bears here too. If Jaden Daniels were to play, I would think about maybe taking the Commanders, but that defense is too good. If it's Mariota going out there against that defense, I think he's going to realize the very first play, oh, this isn't the Carolina defense. It's going to be I think it'd probably be a blowout, honestly, if it's Mariota playing. But Panthers at the Broncos. This is Bryce Young. His comeback this season
God, what a
against
game to come back.
the Broncos. Number, who do you got covering here?
Yeah, I mean, I really like Bryce Young. I'm like, when he got benched, I became a Bryce Young fan. But like, what a game to come back to. The Broncos defense has just been looking so good, and I think that he's just gonna be all over Bryce Young. And yeah, hopefully Sutton gets actually like a target this time.
Darren, who?
Yeah. Case in point, that defense is just too dang good. Give me the Broncos.
Yeah, I feel bad for Bryce Young because this offense has looked night and day different when he's the quarterback. And, I'm not sure how I am about this Broncos defense. I probably should be a little more convinced, but I think this is another bad offense that they're playing against. And they've been exploiting against some bad offenses here as of late. So I'm going to take the Broncos. Chiefs at the Raiders. Chiefs are favored by 9.5 points. Remember, who do you got covering?
I don't know. This one actually was probably the hardest decision of the slate for me, just because I feel like the Raiders all have the Chiefs number for some reason. I don't know what it is. I don't know if Crosby gets in Kelsey's head. And And you know what? I was gonna pick the Chiefs, but I'm switching to the Raiders. I think that I don't think that they win. I think that they do cover though.
That's fair. Darren, who you got?
Yeah, I think the Chiefs defense is going to thwart anything the Raiders offense does. So give me the Chiefs.
I think it's gonna be.
Yeah,
a
I'm
low-scoring
going
game
with
for sure.
I'm going to go with the with the way that the Raiders or the Chiefs played this last week, you would think it would be a low scoring game, but before this season, I don't think I really knew how bad Gardner Minshew is because I didn't really watch a ton of his games. He turns the ball over left and right, and this defense, they're number one against the run, so Madison will be shut down, and now you put the game on Gardner's shoulders. I see some pick sixes coming that way, so got to drag that end right back over or no?
Yeah, you guys convinced me. I was trying to. Yeah, no, the Raiders are just so bad. This Patriots hate is valid, but not warranted. I'm sorry, Logan.
Cowboys at the Niners. This is a little bit of a rivalry now. Niners are dealing with all those injuries. Hopefully Debo can play, but if not, it's going to be Juwan Jennings, Cowing, and Pearsall. Kittle's even dealing with an injury, so we don't really know what this offense is going to look like, and it looks like Jordan Mason's also banged up. Then you have the Cowboys coming off of a bye week. They didn't look very good coming into the bye week. Darren, who do you have covering?
Yeah, just with watching the 49ers Chiefs game this past weekend, I don't know what's really going on with them. That offense is just sputtering. I mean, you're down to wide receiver 5, 6, 7 in your depth chart, basically. So I got the Cowboys in this one coming off of a bye week. They're fresh.
Yeah, I think that the Cowboys coming off a bye is really the only reason I'm picking the Cowboys.
Same. That's why I'm picking the Cowboys as well. Giants at Steelers. What a doozy this game's going to be. I'm sure it's going to be so much fun to watch. Nimmer, who do you got covering here?
Definitely the Steelers. No other.
Do I even have to ask?
Yeah, no. I am very. This is going to be an interesting test because
Darren,
I
who you
think
got?
the Giants have like a. I need to look up the stats, but I think the Giants have like one of the best pass rushes. I would like to say.
They do.
Yeah.
So
Dexter Lawrence.
Dexter Lawrence, yeah, is what the leading sack leader right now.
Yeah, he's leading in sacks right now.
yeah,
Brian Burns off the edge.
The Giants have the 7th ranked defense right now too.
Wow.
it is going to
That's
be
pretty sneaky.
interesting. Yeah, and they're first in sacks, 4th in quarterback hits, and tied to a 25th in quarterback hurries. So this is gonna be really what solidifies if Russell Wilson is going to be good or not. But I think that they're gonna just run the ball anyway, so it doesn't really matter.
Yeah. Darren, who you got?
Yeah, give me the Steelers. I just think their defense compared to the Giants will be too strong. So, and that's what's going to keep them in the game. And you just score one good touchdown. That's all you need.
Yeah, I got Daniel Jones seeing ghosts out there, and let's see if he can not get pulled this game because that's what happened the last game. I'll take the Steelers. Let's get into the locks, the 5-minute locks by Nimmer. Why don't you?
All right. So, we've really been on a slump this week or this year, but time to turn it around. We are the past couple weeks, the teams that have supposed to be winning are winning. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna parlay all of the ones together. Well, not all of the ones. The ones that I like are the Lions, the Packers, the Ravens, and the Jets. The Patriots are 0-8 in the last 8 home games. The Ravens are 8-1 in the last 9 away games. The Packers are 5-0 against a bottom 5 defense, and the Titans are 3-9 in the last 12 games as an underdog. So give me all four of those teams. Let's parlay them together. It's plus 300, so 10 gets you $30. So there goes my money line parlay. Then I also wanted to throw in a touchdown parlay. I really like these three players. I like Jamar Chase. He's scored a touchdown in 4 of the last 5 games. Kenneth Walker, he's going against the Bills, who ranked 31st against the RBs, and Joe Mixon. He's going up against the Colts, who are 21 against opposing running backs. So give me those three. $5 gets you 30. So let's make a quick 60, and always don't forget, gamble responsibly. Back to you, Drew.
I would just like to take some time to notice Logan's comment there. He said just not to point out the obvious, but Drew's kicking y'all's ass in the spreads.
Fair enough. It's not Drew.
Love
It's
that.
Sammy. Sammy's the one that is picking him.
Yeah.
Picking it. It's not Drew.
Yep. That's the story we'll go with. But that is the locks from us. We gave you some fantasy football talk. This is the new format of the show. And honestly, I'm looking at the time. It looks like we're not that far off from what we usually do.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yesterday
I don't know how that happened.
I was like looking at the clock. I was like, damn.
I don't know how we got so late, but that happened. So maybe these shows will be just like normal, a prolonged fantasy football talk, I guess. Let's end this here. We're going to be going on to TikTok Live here right after this. We'll be answering questions. If you want to join in, feel free to come and join in on the TikTok Live. We will be on there answering questions. The username for us is D&D Football Pod, and you can find us through there. Anything before we get out of here, Nimmer?
No, let's just enjoy the moment of having all sports together within the past couple weeks, especially with the World Series. That's going to be an exciting matchup with the Yankees and the Dodgers. Basketball and hockey's back. I think we had the second annual Frozen Frenzy yesterday. So let's just enjoy life, man. Let's just enjoy it. Let's enjoy it until the off season where we're only stuck with like one sport.
Basketball.
I'm starting to get into hockey personally, but. And Logan, to answer your question, yes, she is killing us in the Pick'em League. So
Yeah,
she's doing really
she's
well.
dusting us. She's got 98%. It's crazy.
Yeah. Darren, you want to say anything before we leave?
No, sorry. I think Nimmer covered it. We're in the full swing of sports. It's getting cooler out. We're hitting fall. It's the best time of the year. And then we're going into the holidays here soon. So, I mean, it's crazy that the year is almost over, but we have a lot looking out for us with all the sports kicking off.
Yeah, enjoy football while it's here. We are already almost in week 8 at the mid-season point of the year for football. Next week, we have a mid-season themed show. You're going to want to tune in for that. There's a lot of really fun topics we're going to be talking about. I don't want to give too many away, but we're going to be talking about a whole bunch of different things kind of centered around the mid-season, where we're at in the season. So definitely tune into that. It might be a part 1, part 2 type show. Maybe we'll do next Tuesday and the following Tuesday after that. We're really not sure yet. Just look out for this next Tuesday. It's going to be a mid-season show. So definitely join us for that. Follow, like, subscribe. As always, have a good night, and thank you for watching.